Welcome, welcome. Season's greetings. I should be wearing a Santa hat. So, we're episode 506. Welcome to Speak Up Monday here at Tropical Nomad. So tonight, we've had a lot to talk about AI in the past. Genius Group, her bringing humanity, AI, blockchain together to create a new way of how we live. All the way through to, Simon was here with an AI project. And I think that everybody here has either heard of AI or is using AI. But then tonight is about, in a way, kind of pushing back, right? There's this human aspect to all of us, which is uncopyable, which isn't for scaling, right? It's for going deep, right? It's for connecting with one another. So tonight, we're going to be talking all about that. As AI accelerates, one question matters more than ever. What makes us as human and uncopyable? So this week we welcome, now I always get the name Roel. Roel.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yes. Pronounced it right. Roel W.T. Cruys, founder of, you remember, Voices Unleashed. Now, Roel works at the intersection of identity, language, and meaning, helping leaders and creatives articulate the human edge that AI can't replicate. With a Dutch-Indonesian third culture upbringing and 15 years shaping narratives for founders and impact-led brands, Roel explores how coherent identity becomes a new premium in an AI-driven world. So like that, you hear that one?
Yeah,
thank you very much. So 3 takeaways, there'll be many more. If your work advances humanity or protects the planet, vague language becomes a liability. In an AI world, skills are abundant, clear, and identity is rare. You become incomparable by building language worlds, not louder marketing. So what we're exploring, as I mentioned, is about narrative, identity, meaning, why your words shape belonging, value, and leadership, and how reclaiming your human edge changes everything. Now, Roel is also launching Ethos. Well, I think it's launched now, but you have access to it tonight, which is a 3-day guided sprint helping consultants, creatives, and coaches find their uncopyable edge. And that's humannature.art/ethos. A little bit about me, Robert Ian Bonnick, founder of SpeakuP Monday, PT Curry Life Group, which is a purpose-driven gateway for founders, investors, and institutions looking to land and grow responsibly in Indonesia. We operate at the intersection of business, strategy, government relations, media influence, tourism architecture, and cultural intelligence, not as a traditional consultancy, but as a long-term ecosystem partner. And through RIB and Associates, growth strategists, SpeakuP Monday that you're watching now, we build trust and relationships at the grassroots leadership level. And through Tourism Architect, we co-build legacy-led tourism developments. And simply, we prioritize trust before transaction, culture before scale, and long-term contribution over short-term gain. Round of applause again, everybody. Thank you for listening to that intro. Woo! They get longer.
Well done, well done.
They get longer. So listen, Roel, we've known each other for a long time, brother. And in Bali years, it's like 5 or 6 years. And I remember that when we were starting SpeakuP Monday about 6-7 years ago, we had a chat. And I think you asked, because I saw this on your story earlier on, said, and you're about to start with your co-partners, co-founders, Voices Unleashed.
Yes.
Yes. And you said, Rob, like, what's, maybe not words of wisdom, but like, what advice do you have? And
teach us young Padawans. Teach us young Padawans. Yeah, give us your wisdom.
What can you teach us? I said, I can teach you nothing, but consistency is very powerful. So tell us, what you've done with that consistency, because I think it's a tribute to who you are as a person.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. That conversation happened on that table right there. So Voices Unleashed started in the middle of the pandemic, and I think that was a time of disconnect, and we created something that was a form of connection. And if I look at my life, I've kind of gone against the stream on a lot of things, not just per se to be a rebel, but just to kind of like listen to different angles. And as a writer, as a narrative architect, when I work with incredible creatives, some of them here in the room, they expect me to come from unique angles, and that's basically how I've operated all my life. And so when Voices Unleashed was birthed, it was about can we create a platform for connection and creative expression. It started in the form of an open mic. It led to retreats, workshops, etc., all about what is your voice? What is your creative voice? And I think it was week 2 or 3 that we were doing this, and it blew up quite fast. We were sitting here, and I asked you, so if you've got one piece of advice for me, what would you do? And I'd expect like some golden answer, and it was just like
nothing. Nothing.
It was just like the monk at the end of the temple, just kind of going like consistency. And it's like, but we ran with that, and
I was having a bad day, man. When you asked me that, I was like, I'm giving this guy nothing.
No, it was brilliant, because here we are 5.5 years later, and Voices Unleashed has grown across the world with chapters in Amsterdam, New York, and Santo Domingo and Bali.
Round of applause for that. Let's give it.
And yesterday Voices Unleashed Amsterdam closed out the year with their open mic, and it's now we're approaching 250 events. So I think that's consistency, and thousands of lives across the world have touched each other, and we've touched through giving a platform for creative expression. Yeah.
On that creative expression, right? So obviously tonight's topic is about AI and how humans are uncopyable. And one of the things which I noticed that drew my attention, was, and again, not that I'm stalking you.
You can. It's okay.
I am stalking him officially. But it was one of your stories was about, the 3 things which kind of lead to either human happiness or fulfillment. And I think that's at the core of what we're talking about. Could you go through those 3 things?
Yeah, totally. So this is what's called self-determination theory, right? So self-determination theory talks about what are the 3 basic human needs to a fulfilled life. Yeah. And this is well researched, well documented. It's tried and tested in technology. It's relatedness, authorship, and competence.
I was about to jump in and help him there. Did you see that? Yeah. I had no clue what the third one was.
No. So relatedness, authorship, and competence, right? And so relatedness refers to how do we interact with the world? How do we interact with each other? Can I see you as a human being? Can you see me as a human being? Can we do this dance? Authorship or autonomy is about the choices that I make in my life. Do they come from a sense of agency? Do they truly come from, I made this choice, life is unfolding because I set the direction? There's a myriad of variables that we cannot control, obviously, but we can make choices, right? And so this is about agency, having the possibility for agency. And the third one is about competence. It's like, what skills do we have and build up in the world, and then we try and test it with the world, and we get our feedback loops, etc., etc.
Love it. Okay, audience, I'm going to check in with you often. Ikigai, hands up if you know what that is. I love it. Yeah. By the way, you're not in the audience, brother. You're a guest.
Audience. Yeah.
All right, Ikigai. So then how would you compare Ikigai to what you've just said, if there is a way to compare it? And what is Ikigai for those who don't know what it is?
I mean, Ikigai is a reason for being, right? And so the other one, the self-determination theory, is about the basic needs for human fulfillment, and a reason for being in the Japanese philosophy of Ikigai is like, what can I do in the world? What lights me up? And what can I get paid for? And I forgot the 4th one. Yeah. Do you remember the 4th one?
That's close enough.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, these are close models, and I think there's plenty of models throughout history, throughout philosophy that speak on this topic of our reasons for being. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and the 4th one was what can I get paid for? Which the future. Yeah. The future is what does the world need? Yeah.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah.
One of the things that again, I've known you for a little while, but we never really hung out properly, right? I've known you, but I've always felt your soul, right? You're a beautiful guy. You're very caring. You're an architect is the way I see you. You're very, not even sure if it's even a word, orchestrative. It is, yes, it is a word. I'm not making it up. Orchestrative in terms of, you're able to marshal together an idea and you're able to execute. In other words, bringing the right people into the picture to enable this thing to move forwards, right? So one thing we're speaking about tonight is how humans are uncopyable. And so going through those first things before, I think, sets a tone of, okay, so then what is it about human beings in this age of AI, singularity, that is uncopyable, and why?
Yeah, beautiful. So this speaks about the a lot of the work that has done in this field is Dan P. McAdams. Dan P. McAdams, everyone write that down. He's basically the forefather of narrative identity. And what is narrative identity? Narrative identity is not it's storytelling, but in a way that we make meaning of our lives through the events that happened. Now, this is interesting because we can go two ways about that. How do we derive meaning from our lives? And there's two trains of thought that he explores there, which is redemption narratives and contamination narratives. Redemption narratives mean that whenever something terrible happens to our life, and all human living is suffering, according to the Buddha, right? So so bad things will happen. Can we learn and grow and approach that with a sense of, not this happened for a reason, but I can derive meaning from it. I can derive value from it. Okay, so that's one track. So that's redemption narrative. Okay. The other track is contamination narrative. And that's for my fellow countrymen in the Netherlands. They're known to complain a lot. And this is exactly that point where
England too.
So you have something that's wonderful that happens, like we're sitting here, it's dry, it's not raining, but man, it's hot, And if you expand that on life events, I had this beautiful wedding, but man, the caterer was shit. So what happens in these two arcs, so redemption narrative or contamination narrative, is they will set a trajectory for our psyche along the way. So people that follow the negative spiral, the contamination narrative, they tend to, fall sooner into depressions, bad health, etc., etc. Whereas the people that follow the redemption narrative is looking more towards wealth, leadership, health, connection, relatedness. And so how we interpret our own narrative identity, that matters a lot. Yeah.
One of the things, and Tanya's here, part Health Hub Bali. Once a month, first Monday of every month, we do this Health Hub Bali special episode. There's been a lot of them, 40 or 50 by now. And one of the things I learned from speaking to eminent doctors, scientists, creators and founders of different tools to measure things, right? Was the importance of how you think. So there's a fellow now, his name will come. He was at that time in charge of traditional Balinese medicine and traditional medicine and one other is coming up. So anyway, I asked him on the show, what is the biggest contributor to health that people often forget? What would that be? Now, I was expecting more of a Balinese response, right? It's not what he gave me at all. He said, one of the most important disseminators, or they determine the health in your body, is how you think. Something like 80%, something like that, of diseases caused by how you think. So just sit with that for a second. 80% of what happens in your body, I think it's 80%. I'm not a doctor. Don't quote me on that one, but it's not far away from that. derives from how we think, and then the impact, kind of spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, of how it impacts and comes into our body. So that narrative, as you're mentioning, finding the negative in something, and you're saying before that those that have a more optimistic approach tend to go further, tend to be healthier, tend to be more fulfilled, and tend to have a better life.
Yes.
Right? Okay,
yes.
Thank you. Just wanted to get some clarity on that.
Yeah.
So then look, for you then, and we're getting to this uncopyable, I know we're leading to it, but why did you become, because this kind of work, like Speak Up Monday, is a passion that became an obsession. That's why I have the same amount of energy now as I did 505 episodes ago. It hasn't changed. If anything, is growing, right? So for you then, this topic feels to me like it's been around you for a long time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So for those people in the audience and those people watching, which are often, inspiration is caught, not taught, oftentimes. Right? So they're looking, watching, listening, and little words can set us on a trajectory which takes us somewhere completely different, right? Maybe our life's calling. Okay. So for you then, what were those breadcrumbs along the way, maybe one or two, that you remember as far back as you remember, that looking back, you're like, you know what? These were the things, these were the breadcrumbs that were leading me to have this passion that's becoming an obsession.
Totally. I grew up a super curious kid, third cultural upbringing. I lived in a bunch of countries before the age of 7, and so I was exposed to a lot of different cultures, a lot of different people, a lot of different ways of life, which made me innately curious to the human condition. But that's completely different depending on which environment you're in. And so that curiosity has always been in the background. And two great influences for me have been my grandmother on my mom's side, who's on the Indonesian side, and my grandfather on my father's side, who's on the Dutch side. The grandfather was a geologist who lived and worked in over 100 countries throughout his life. And so that whole house was a museum of culture. We're talking African masks, crystals everywhere, Latin names of where which crystal or stone was picked up and delved, and there were scorpions and snake heads and Japanese closets. And so it was just a storybook where you walk into. So that taught me a lot about the power of story. He would set me down and he would talk about jungle cats or snakes in Frans Guyana or Suriname, and it'll be actual stories. And then on my grandmother's side, on the Indonesian side, they left Indonesia in the 50s when Indonesia became independent, and they lived in a very small house in the Netherlands. But my mother and her siblings always grew up that house was open to anybody who needed a plate or a bed. And so my mother grew up with tens of different strangers that would come through the house for a season, sometimes longer, and just found a home there. And again, that was all these different cultures and ways of being and ways of existing. And so they merged together because I had a very close bond with my grandfather and a very close bond with my grandmother. And so I think that infused me. I always wrote poetry, short stories, and then in my university years, I had the pleasure. I think it depends a lot on which mentors come along the way. Which mentors come along the way that give you that word of encouragement.
I know there's more, but it's coming right in. So let's talk about inflection point, right? Of which we have several. So if I would ask you if there is an inflection point, one of them, I know there's few, what would it be? Second to that is the negative. And what do I mean by that is oftentimes when people look back, it's positive stories, right? It's, I was blah, 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 blah. And that guy gave me my start and it was all rosy, right? But oftentimes just the opposite.
Yeah.
It's a shit experience.
Yes.
That hurts you, that belittles you, that might humiliate you, and then from that something is born. Something is kind of like there's something inside of us sometimes that for it to really shine, it needs to be cracked open, and that's not an easy experience to have. So choose whichever road you want, but what comes up for you?
Yeah. How explicit can we go here, right? So it's
as
like
explicit as you want.
No, I think like it is a redemption arc, right? So it's like early 20s. I spiraled into my student years too much, to the point where I hit rock bottom, absolute rock bottom, and really questioning, what is life and what is life worth, and changed my environments. That was a huge one. Change your environments, change the people around you. That'll cause a shift. And then I attended this workshop on writing, on travel writing, and the person who taught that workshop, Bernice Notenboom, she was an A-list climate journalist at the time. Like, she would take this woman was badass. She would take executive teams from Shell and BP and take them up to the Arctics to see the damage that their companies were doing. And this woman was just incredible. And so she taught this class. Long story short, at the end of this class, we had to present a short story. I wrote something, I put my heart and soul into it, and her words were, "If you never write, it'll be a shame for the rest of the world." And those words landed with so much gravity because it was somebody that I deeply admired, that set me on a trajectory. You know what? I can write. I've had all these people in my life tell me, "Oh, you're a good writer. You can piece together interesting angles." But now you have somebody that is outside your scope of your best friends and your family, kind of giving you the permission to go down that route. Yeah.
Got it. Now we're going to go deeper, right? So it's a bit like this. I'll give you an example, right? And this, for me, is kind of what I'm bringing to this. And I shouldn't, but what the heck, it's okay. What makes us uncopyable, right? As a kid, and I'll go through it quite quickly. As a kid, I grew up in two children's homes, orphanages, for about 18 years, me. And I was the only black kid at school for the first 13 years. The children's home was pejoratively black, but I thought I was white, like a coconut, right? Dark on the inside, white. Sorry, dark on the outside, white on the inside. And so there was a racist attack that left me humiliated, pissed off, blah, 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 blah. So what happened is that in the 3 days that followed, I went through all of these different stages and depths of pissed off, humiliated. What happened? Why didn't I respond in a better, stronger, faster, smarter way, right? And I went really, really low, right? On that third day, I remembered 6 months prior, we had this lesson in history about the 100 Years' War that was going on in Palestine, still going on. And one kid next to me said, "Miss, 100 Years' War, yes. Can't be the same people fighting, can it, miss?" Missed me by miles. On that third day, I realized that it's one word passed down from one generation to the next, to the next, to the next. And so it comes subconscious, unconscious, and away we go. And that's what happened. So I knew that I could either be part of the solution or part of the problem. And I chose to be part of the solution, right? There's another few events like that happened in my life that were very, they weren't nice, they weren't pleasant, okay? But it showed me something about human nature. And one, the gotong royong in Indonesia is the community comes together to solve a challenge faced by the community. It's one of the most beautiful principles that Indonesia lives on, and I love it. I saw this happen, that we as kids were fighting cats and dogs, hated each other apparently, but then when we were threatened by an outside force of greater number, we forgot all of our differences and we became brothers and sisters. And this is why I call all of you brother or sister, as you'll find out later. But these were some of the experiences in a way that I feel kind of makes me unique. This uncopyable, right? So when I come to you, because again, I see this beautiful guy and I see everything is smooth and people probably see the same thing too, but I know that you've been through some deep stuff, right? And I'm not saying you need to reveal everything tonight. Reveal everything.
Reveal it.
Reveal everything tonight, Roel, right? But I think this is part of what makes us uncopyable, right? So if that story that I shared quite quickly, like what comes up for you in the context of the work that you do and this uncopyability of human beings that you tap into in your work to create this unique, beautiful picture of someone that AI can't reach?
It boils down to being seen, right? Like, I think what I struggled with as a kid was moving around different places, and I pride myself on being a chameleon. You know, I could hang out with the rich kid, I could hang out with the junkies, I could hang out with the skaters. With it didn't matter. I felt, in the Netherlands we would say, like a fish in water. You know, so I could find a piece of myself in there, and I could take a piece from them out and put it in until I became this wonderful rainbow of who the hell am I? You know, so it's like, so yes, I could adapt to every environment and see the beauty in different people. But it also left me a bit shaken, like, who am I? You know, this question. And for me, that didn't land until we started Voices Unleashed. Because Voices Unleashed was about creating a home for people. It was about finding a home in creative expression. Can we create allowance for people to really be themselves? Can we create permission? And in doing so, I created permission for myself to be. You know, I not just the person who orchestrates the room and hosts the talk, but could I also, be vulnerable with my own poetry or my storytelling or my heartbreaks or my joys, and so that allowed me to, like, come back to center, and at the same time anchor the importance of what happens if we each are allowed to fully express our genius. And so this comes back to this narrative identity that I spoke about, where people can have the same values in life, but have completely different lives. And it's because whatever they went through life, whatever meaning they attach to that forms the identity. And so, yeah, I've been interested in, like, okay, what is your identity? And especially when I'm working with companies. I worked with B Corps for like 10 years, like looking into how do you position your narrative in a better light without greenwashing, but how do you really boil down to the oh yeah, we work in sustainability at the cutting edge of technology, blah blah blah. No. Tell me the heart of what you're doing. And I'm also doing this with wonderful creatives who, and this is where ethos was born from. It's like people that are already brilliant at what they do. I don't need to fix their craft. They're absolutely phenomenal at their work. But if their language walks 2 steps behind, what does that do to the overall result? What does that do to the overall experience of, can you land your clients? How do you speak about your work? Are you attracting the right frequency of people into your field? And so this is what interests me.
3 quick ones, right? As in one question with 3 outcomes. In about 8, 9, 10 minutes, don't test me on that. I see people like, 10 minutes, huh? Put the timer on. Stop it! In about 10 minutes, we'll come to you for questions, right? So if you have some questions that are stirring, either write them down, use your phone, write however you want to record them, because then you'll get the chance, right? So this is one question with 3 quick answers-ish. So if I asked you then, what makes humans uncopyable? If people are just tuning in now and saying, right, give me 3 things, could be more, could be less. What 3 things would you say that make human beings uncopyable?
I'd have to sit down with them. I think, like, story. I think story is a big one. Vision. How do we interpret the world, and where do we want to go? And your value set. I think your story, your value set, and where you're pointing towards.
So then you started it before, but let's go back to it. What does the client journey look like? Because again, and by the way, feel free to, the word boast came in. It's like, no, just dropped in there. I was trying to, no, go away. Feel free to boast, or feel free to let people know some of the successes that you've had, right? Because I think that's important. Yeah. I know you, right? And I know you're in what you do. You have this, again, I know you, but I don't know you, but I know you. I get the sense that whatever you put your mind to and your heart to, you go, and you won't stop until it's done. That's how I see you. And I've checked some of the things out as well, so I know some of the success stories. But on the road, if you could just maybe give people some of the success stories that you've had, and then go toward what does the client journey look like if somebody here or watching online wanted to come and see you.
Yeah. The client journey looks like a lot of talking. It looks like really getting to know each other. I've got two beautiful humans sitting right behind each other here in Pete and Jordan, and who we've done similar work. So they're absolutely phenomenal in their craft. I don't sometimes I'm intimidated by the level of world classery that they show, but the client journey in general looks like, okay, show me who you are. We start from absolute transparency. I want to know everything. I want to, as I call it, I want to wiggle with your wobbles, because I think the wobbles where we're a little bit shaky and not as confident, I think that's where a lot of the juice is. That's where, okay, there's something there to bring out and to surface. And so when I look at the work that I do, as in the past it would be like a writer, I'd now frame it more as a narrative architect, because if I look at what are the architectural components that I use or that we work with when, and what I'm trying to do with these guys is surface a language that is true to them, right? It's so the whole point is can the language that we surface for you not only tell you, oh yeah, this is exactly who I am, but also raise the stakes and create a whole new realm for you to walk into, so that you're equally it feels like you, and at the same time it feels a little bit edgy because it points towards your future. And the way I do that, and it's not as staccato and it's not as structured, we work on the author, we work on the artifact, and we work on the audience. So, and this is, I think, also where the piece of AI comes in, because AI can only influence one of these. And so this is where the uncopyable comes back. So the author is who is the person? Who is the person doing the thing? And I'm not talking about SaaS companies, because it's a little bit more, it's more technical. It involves more people. So what I'm talking about, or who I'm talking about, is solo founders and creatives, people who have, for lack of a better word, birthed a solution from their own identity, from their vision, from their value set into the world, and felt that's something that the world needs. That's my ikigai, right? So we work on the author. Who are you, and who should you be to really claim your language? Can you lean into who you want to become, and how is that still congruent with who you are? The other part is the artifact. That's the actual work, the offer page, the sales pages, the product descriptions. This part is phenomenally well done by AI at these points. AI can absolutely nail the artifact part of our work. I mean, we use it all the time, right? It's whether it's positioning or strategizing or the actual content. And I like Pete, I used to use my like Jordan, I used to use my M dashes, and now I can't use them anymore. Pete was that. So we work on the author, we work on the artifact, and then the audience. And the audience comes back to relatedness. Can you be as authentic as possible so that the audience feels the author? And these two parts, the author and the audience, are, I would say AI hasn't reached the point where it can influence those factors to a point where you go that's the exact representation of this human and who they serve. And we might get to that stage, but right now I think we live in an age where we should double down on those irreplaceable qualities that sit within those realms, because is what's going to set us apart.
Got it. Because recently I've been doing quite a lot of AI things, and every day now, I mean, there was a Genius Group, you would have heard of them, Roger Hamilton, a friend and client. AI labs, five days. First day was all about creating an AI genie or an AI mentor, which I won't go into the whole process. Ooh, the wind is coming, and but it's incredibly powerful. All the different assessments that we've done, it all goes in. Who are the people on your team, right? Who are your executive council? In business, it might, and remember, this is leveraging the brains of all of humankind, all of history. So maybe, I think, well, who do I want advising me when it comes to money? Maybe it's Warren Buffett. So Warren's up there, right? And AI is read, everything is done, every book is written, blah, 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 blah. Any quote, his statement is made, he's got all of it. When it comes to humanity, right? I'm a person who's very driven by humanity. If you don't realize now, you will soon. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey are in my family tree, extended, right? So they're in there. There's also Mandela, he's in there, right? So this is 2 out of 10 different ways to program your or my AI. I call it Morpheus, him, her Morpheus. And so every day we're in this conversation, and it's in a way, using, everyone uses Google Maps, right? Say yes.
Yes.
Or if you haven't, say no. Good, everybody has. All right, just checking you're awake. Good. And so Google Maps is like basically saying, this is where I want to get to. Show me. And if the road is blocked, it gives me another route. Well, imagine if you programmed a personal AI who knows you better than you know yourself, let's say, and your destination is this. It could be a physical destination, it could be a financial destination, but you program that in. And just like Google Maps, you then say, well, okay, take me there. And maybe it's a daily plan, maybe it's a monthly plan, maybe it's an annual plan, and away we go. And every day, shiny object, I want to go over here. And it's like, so I check in and say, hey, here's this new project that's showing its head.
Come back.
Should I do it? Which in Google, yeah, there you go. Google Maps, you might be like, there's a hazard in the road, right? It's a not hazard, but a beautiful ceremony. Is there another way I can, in Bali, is there another way I can go? So it helps and assists me and guides me. So this is one way of looking at this. So, and what I do for a living is very high touch and very personal, right? So, cut a long story short, what I feel with AI is that the how absolutely is done. Yeah. Like, there's no systems thinking. Yeah. Good luck. You're not going to beat AI. It's there already. So the how is done. But when it comes to the let's say on this particular destination, you need to meet a guy called Roel HT Cruys, right? Now, it can create a perfect intro note. It can create a great approach to reach you. But at the end of the day, I can call you. Yeah. And there's already a basis of relationship between us. So I can maybe say, hey, Roel, I need your help with this, this, and this. Done. Whereas so in other words, it still needs a human, a connection, a relationship, a something there that's already existing that has those 5D qualities that I don't think AI can reach. Yes. So in what you're doing, when you look at the future of it, where do you see what you do? How do you see it kind of working within all this environment? Because I agree that AI is a fantastic tool, but I believe in humans. Yeah. I believe in humanity. I believe in what you're doing, right? So, but how does that work for you? How does that show up? Where's the root? How do you see it? Yeah.
So for me personally, it looks like working with people that are human first, right? It's like, I mean, like, I follow the stream in that sense. So I genuinely believe that there's a value added premium on human first work. Yeah. the more and more AI can organize our lives and build fantastic solutions, the more that's going to do, the more we come to question is like, well, how do we relate to each other? Are we, in 5 years' times, are you just going to set an AI bot on a screen of Rob here with an AI audience with little screens and then go like, it's a sentence that was also coined by Charles Eisenstein, is one of my favorite modern day philosophers. It's like, if the students are using AI to do the homework and the teachers are using AI to check the homework, then what the hell is the point of the homework? What the hell is the point of the interaction between the teacher and the student? And I think this is the part that we mustn't lose, that we are humans, we are interpersonally connected. Like, we have to remain the author within this story.
Yeah. Love it. Now, questions. So, about a minute. Yeah, raise your hand. So, Brother Guzman, we have a man over there. First one. And while it gets to you, and again, genius group again, but what I enjoy about this conversation, and you as well, is that, in Bali, you have Trihita Karana, right? The relationship of human to God, human to nature, human to human prosperity and dignity. And, in a way as well, Genius System, it's you have your personal work, and this is what you're doing to elevate your own consciousness and humanity. There's money work, which is what you're doing to create this thing we call money, this license to basically live and afford things and have da-da-da-da-da. And then there's village work. And then village work is basically probably the most important one out of that, is like, what are you doing for humanity? What are you doing for your community? What are you doing to elevate, co-elevate, contribute, right, to this that's left? And this is where I think, this human to human connection will become more and more and more valuable, as the years go on.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah,
brother,
I'm with you on that journey. Yeah,
brother. All right, question. So, by the way, questions real quick. The way of doing it is, by all means, say your name if you want. Plug what you're doing. Hi, my name's Rob. I do this, and this. No problem. You've walked here. The least we can do is give you a platform to plug what you're doing, but then straight to the question. So that way we can get more value, more questions in, and less of a monologue. Thank you. Yeah. Just make sure you didn't switch your mic off too. So with these mics,
hello.
Yeah, just right, hold them at the bottom, by the way. Yeah,
like this. All right, cool. Hi, my name is Arjuna. Thanks.
Arjuna, yes.
Thanks for the great talk. So my question is less about AI, but more about like individual development. So you mentioned earlier that you had to do a big change in your environment to kind of reach that next level. So I would like to ask, in your opinion, what's the top 3, I would say, environmental changes that anyone can implement to really reach that next level, or to get out of a slump that they're in, for example?
Arjuna didn't hold back.
No, you didn't hold back.
Like, you thought my questions were tough. Wait for the audience. These guys are mean. No, you're beautiful.
Do we have a sofa here that we can pull out?
We have a sofa.
No.
We have fact checking. I'm not fact checking.
Arjuna, right? Arjuna. Yeah.
Arjuna.
Lovely name, by the way. Yeah, I think, like, I can speak from personal experience. For me, it was the people, the physical environment, and then also the commitment. I think commitment is a big one. It's like, are you willingly choosing a change? And willingly meaning, okay, I accept that there's going to be self-limiting beliefs. I accept that there's going to be voices in my head or from my environment that say like, oh, no, stay safe, stay comfortable. But at the end of the day, do you choose to commit day in, day out? Even if it's like my wife is a beautiful example of this. She's like, I show up regardless. I surf and I show up. She says, I surf and I show up regardless whether I have a great wave or not. And so it's that commitment to change. And then definitely the people, that's a huge one. And then it's your physical environment as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Arjuna. Next question. Yeah. Wait, Marcel, Bonnick. Cool. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's coming right to you. And then after that, we do Marcel and then the lady here. Yeah.
Sounds good. As a narrative engineer, are you aware, does big tech hire people like you? As we all have those chatbots, in our pockets.
Beautiful.
And there can be a single developer in Palo Alto deciding persona.
Yeah.
And as somebody who's recently started building chatbots for my clients, where should I start?
Yeah. So thank you for the question. I'm not sure if you saw this, but I think it was 3 weeks ago where OpenAI opened a job for a content strategist at $400,000 a year.
Of course, I've seen it. Yes.
And so so all this big tech are creating these highly human touch expert roles, right? Because there is a need for it. So can you repeat your question again?
The question would be, would you give advice for somebody who's not as expert as you, but building a chatbot, deciding on a persona?
Okay. I'd love to know more about the business. Like, I'd love to know more about like what is the audience, what is the author in this case, and what is the artifact, and then work around like how do you approach that in the best way possible. Yeah, I'd love to speak afterwards. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Marcel.
Roel, in the case you want to make an AI avatar out of yourself, you give him your whole story. You tell the things that you told us and more and more and more. You give him your values, the change over the time. You give your vision. Yeah. What do you think is missing? What are the things that are missing? Or what would you, additionally do that it gets more and more like you, like a real human, something like this?
Lived experience. It's life. So I think the simple answer is just life. So I think yes, you can program it in such a way that it probably answers like I would answer, but you cannot say with a 100% certainty. And I think if there's one thing that's innately human, it's the power of imagination. It's the power to create new connections in a field. Even after tonight, my value system can change. The way how I approach the world can change. The way how I approach a narrative piece that I intend to write tonight can suddenly shift. So I think the lived experience is something that I haven't seen being able to be programmed. Yeah.
Thanks.
And then just over here as well, I think. Yeah. Just before I ask your question, Brother Made, if you can hear us, can you grab some more water, if that's possible? Let's see if he's awake. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't know. I have a lot of questions. But are you familiar with metacognition in psychology?
No, tell me.
Like the ability to have the awareness to understand like that you're thinking, that what you're thinking,
as
why.
With kids, the moment that kids kind of like become aware of more than themselves, it's
but also as adults, like the ability not only to have that self-awareness, but also to understand where does it come from like reverse engineer to the root cause, and then have the authority and agency to to decide how you're gonna move forward, right? I see your work in a very human aspect, because you are having that role in that moment when you work with someone. It's like I don't want to say therapy, but there's a transmission happening. You are mirroring people and you're exploring you're exploring things with them that come from their deep psychology. So I'm wondering, like, not to say you're gonna run out of business, but how would you say, how do I say this, like, the higher the emotional intelligence is when it comes to metacognition, the more human we are, the more authentic we are. And I think like this is like what we're seeing now transitioning into transhumanism. It's like we see on one side the deterioration of our humanity, which is basically our metacognition. And then I'm asking you, like, where do you see yourself there? Because I can see the AI questions going into like a bit tech and stuff like that, but I think a lot of people miss the point of what you actually do, that your power is that you have a very high emotional intelligence, and that you have that embodied experience. So that what I see that's what's unique about you. And I think people are not aware when they start to work with you that they're actually doing deep psychological work. And yeah, does that make sense? I don't know if that. I'm sorry.
Thank you, but maybe you should ask those two gentlemen over there.
Don't be sorry, because again, like in this environment, the irony is that it's like a collective energy, right? And so the questions that come up are exactly the questions that are supposed to come up. You know, when we did this before, Roel knows me, so it's okay, right? He knows me enough. Our pre-chat was about 45 seconds long. Right? And it went something like this: past, present, future, and anything you want, anything you don't want to talk about, anything you want to talk about. That's about it, because he understands that I understand that none of this is scripted. I don't like scripting these sorts of talks, because it's about being open to what's present. And that's why I love having an audience, right? Which are part of the process, because not only is it questions that don't come into my head, but it's also audience led.
Yep.
And oftentimes, like when two people get together, it can be too tunnel minded, right? And then shares like yours then kind of go poof, right? It kind of opens up something else, and that oftentimes is why we're actually here, not necessarily what we were talking about before, which is still very valuable, by the way.
Yes. Yes.
So don't ever feel sorry, or because it's not even anything. The contribution.
It's a very layered approach, and I don't know if I can ask the question in a way that brings actually value, but I think I'm meaning to ask, what is the main thing that you encounter when you work with people? Because I think it has to do with metacognition, but what do you think?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the feathers, I appreciate the grace, and I appreciate the water. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Made changed.
Made changed to Marcel. Pretty cool. I can work with that.
What I love about what I do is the interpersonal part, is the part that, and Eva can attest to this, like, I hype the people up that I work with because I change them as much as they change me. And I think that's the brilliance. If you can be truly transparent in your collaborations when you're doing human to human work, I think this is where, that's where the real magic happens, you know? So, for me, I think the biggest thing that I would like to bring people when I work with them is give them a language that they feel like, yes, this is me, and at the same time that language projects them into who they are becoming. And I think that's the that's the work that I do. And yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so over here, as we pass it across, I think I said at the start of the show that it's pushing back against AI. Well, that was wrong. I apologize. So from what I can also hear is that, for example, the way which I use AI is as a really powerful tool, and it's co-creating the future, right? And from what I can hear, you're doing the same. At the end of the day, you're using with the how, for example, as you said, in that breakdown of 3 different aspects to how you work, that one of them AI dominates, and this is the how, and then the other part, again, very high touch. What I do, it's a very trusted environment, right? But there's something that happens when you're looking at someone. Right? It's all these non-verbal cues that we collect, we pick up, that we resonate with or not, as the case may be. And I think this is a thing which, makes things very, very unique and very special and very human. Yeah. So this is the area that I kind of get into, or beginning to get into, with how far can we push it? Yeah. Question. Yeah.
I have the active privilege of working with you. And prior to that, I consider myself a decent writer, and with AI, I was able to put what I thought was good down. You've completely rerouted my opinion of that from the hours of conversation, and just there is a level of nuance and depth that's happened that is uncopyable. It's legit, and it's been an incredible experience. I have my concerns about where AI goes for those of us who don't understand what that human relatable connection can actually have, because how I get to actually feel about myself from the art of working with you has instilled a level of confidence. part of my concern is I got this interesting perspective that, fast food mass produced came in and kind of took over a lot of food, but then it also gave birth to the boom of artisan cooking and appreciation and these things. And it was like, oh, okay, so there's a potential spark for this in human connection, copywriting, etc. But it's still a choice. Like, we have to actively know what's there and make the choice to buy the artisan sourdough, etc., etc. And that choice comes from perspective. What is the perspective that you would offer people who don't know what they don't know, who are eating mass-produced shit when they could be having incredible sourdough?
Yeah. Thank you, brother.
A few smiles and giggles here in the audience for those of you online. Should be here in person. Amazing. Great work. And thanks as well. I know while he's thinking, it's really cool that as a client you show up and you also kind of stand up for what you derive from the time, and again, to me, that's where the magic is as well, right? Because I can see, what do you call them, testimonials written and videos, but when you see it live in a person and you hear the tone of their voice, right, and you see their eyes and you see their body language move, then you kind of have a feeling where something's coming from. And in how you spoke, what I receive is that it comes from deep, that it's very authentic to you, and you really truly believe in what you've just said. So again, it's just a different way to get things. We're talking about uncopyable human beings are. That's also why I'm making a point of it, because those people there are not here. So they can't necessarily see what I saw or what other people get. Now I'll leave it to answer the question.
Yeah. So the question being is like, how can they find out that they're eating macas versus?
What's the perspective that will help them move towards a more human solution?
Since we're in Bali, it becomes a bit woo-woo, but it comes down to like tuning into your heart. If you're using a language, and like, again, if you're a solo founder, a creative, an artist, and you're using a particular language on your website and your offering, wherever your language lands, does that fully congruent with who you are? And Marcel works on this with NLP. It's like, does it feel good? Does it not feel good? I think that's a pretty easy indicator. Okay, this feels good. Okay, fine, stay in your lane. If you feel like, no, this does not feel good, there's a deeper layer here that wants to come out. There's a more truthful piece of me that needs to be spoken out into the world. That's the point where we go like, all right, let's create.
I think the last thing I would say too about the human piece is, I know you majoritarily through a professional connection, and I sat for 2 hours in a car to get here tonight because of the experience I've had with you as a human, and now I'm getting to meet and greet and interact. And so by choosing the artisan bread, my life is actually expanding versus sitting in a dark room by myself talking to some fucking computer. So it's actually, I imagine, the million nuances left and right of the choices to actually invest in.
Yes. So now you get the amuse-bouche, the petit fours, the dessert. You get the whole shebang, right? Yeah.
I have a question for everybody here. Thank you for 2 hours as well. Respect, brother.
Big respect.
Respect. So be honest, right? How many of you, by a raise of hands, know 100% how to tune in and tap into your heart? Raise your hand. Okay. How many of you don't know how to tap into your heart? Really, truly, definitely. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, because part of what I'm hearing, again, this uncopyability about human beings is presence, right? Sentient presence. Let's call it that. So, how do you, because it's a big part, and it's a question I had earlier on, so thanks for bringing it up. How do you tap into your heart? Because you said before, how does it feel good? Does it not feel good? That's easier to say sometimes than to feel, because perhaps we don't know how to feel, right? All the things, the journeys we go through as human beings, maybe that's impaired to a certain extent. So how do you, maybe an example which not cookie cutter, but how have you, maybe it's something that people can take away with them tonight, how do you tap into your heart and feel that this feels good? How does it happen for you? How do you take clients through that, if you do?
So it's a good question, because it's like the analogy that I often use is like, okay, can you read your own label from inside the jar, right? It's like you're asking me something that comes second nature to me, and that is part of my work. But it's also part of my work to teach, right? It's also my part to educe, to educate, to draw out. And so, how do you tap into your heart? I think like one of the practices that I do with almost everyone that I sit down with is like we draw a lifeline. And so we draw a lifeline of like all the highs and lows of my life, and the wobbles, and you name it, your inflection points. Circle them. All right, now tell me about that. Okay, and then you listen, record yourself. How do I speak about this event? What are some of the words that are coming out? What are some of the sentences that are coming out that really resonate on a deeper level? Go like, wow, shit, did that just come out of me? Is that me? That is you. So this is where you usually start, and then from this point we start piecing together. This practice, and we keep going back into this practice to find the right frequency. Yeah.
And when you find, maybe this is, do you still have the mic, or you passed it on? Yeah. Thank you, brother, because it's coming to you next. So for you, if you don't mind me asking, right, when you felt like, you've described a great experience that you had, when you felt this is it, this is true for me, can you describe that feeling in the best way that you possibly can? Was it somewhere in your body? Was it somewhere in your mind?
I would say there was more a resting in my center, and from the point of view that it felt completely me, but the best version of me. Like you spoke earlier about that. Oh, it's true, and it's the aspiration all in one. So it actually became this sphere of purpose that I get to move towards. And it's like, oh, I have to sit a little taller to really live into not a version that isn't true, but a version that you narrated, crafted, that is like, yeah, that's true. And it's not just like, oh, cool. It was like, oh, okay. Here I go. I get to sit up and lean into this, and that wasn't a heady thing, because I had stuff that I'd written that I thought was great, and it for all I knew it was, but I didn't get that, to your point, like a body, like, oh yes, it didn't move me, because in some way it never really can, because it doesn't understand me, like you understood me by having the level of conversations that we had. So when I read that, there is another human acknowledging me. And I think that's the intangible piece, that no matter how amazing the blurb that comes back from chat, it's artificial by its very name. And so there was a certain ceiling, for me at least, in that experience that you just blew out of the water. And if I think about it, a photographer, digital has been wonderful, but you can never touch the chemical process. Like the level of graduation still can't be matched. There still blows out a gamut. It's still, after all of these years, it still cannot match that chemical process for graduations and nuance.
Brother, thank you.
Purists.
Very well communicated. Thank you very much indeed. Now, was the question behind you? Or was it you were just holding the mic? It was like, what's this thing here? It's like, you have a question. What? You know what? This is unusual, but I feel like doing it. Ibu Jero. can you give us, pass the mic over here. So just introduce yourself, all right? Not just, actually, come over. Now, we are not hijacking anyone's session here, all right?
Oh
this
my
is
God.
my sister here. Come on, come over.
What should I do?
Yeah, just.
Oh my God.
It's only live TV. Come on.
Oh my God.
Grab a seat.
My goodness.
So
going on tonight?
what we're gonna do? She is my sister, a beautiful lady.
Oh
So
my goodness.
this is what I'd love to do with you, right? So the first thing is that we're here in Bali.
Yes.
Okay. So could you? It's okay, son. Yeah, son. Son. Okay.
Okay.
So could you, in the best way possible, explain a little bit about what you do?
Okay.
And then I would love you to give us an idea of how do Balinese people tap into their heart, right? So a few words about you, what it is that you do. Besides, she's going to be on the show in 2026. She may as well start now. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, how do Balinese people tap into their heart?
Oh my goodness.
It's okay, brother.
Thank you very much,
Welcome.
Robert. So it's an honor again to be here. And thank you, Roel. Yes. So that question for me is just like,
Who are you first? No pressure.
my name is Annie. So as I'm a medium since 12 years already. Okay, let's say almost 13 years. So I'm a medium, clairvoyance, and also healer. So in somehow, your question was so touching, and what I'm doing is I'm based in East Bali, so I share this session to many people. So it's live intuition session actually. So we will not say I'm in this, I'm good in this, I'm good in that. So I'm just here, would like to share with you guys. I think you're doing a very great job. I mean, through AI. So it's AI is a tools. Actually, we all have that tools. We all have it here in our heart, actually. So it depends how you tap it. It really depends how you motivate yourself. You would like to engage it in you. Actually, we do all have it, actually. He's the one over. He's the maestro. Through his breathing session, he tapped everyone's hearts, and he tapped me too. He make me addicted with what he's doing. He just bridge everyone.
I am your brother, sister. Now, I know and I love you, so I'm gonna go straight in, right? So,
Okay.
as a Balinese person and what you do, how do you tap into your heart?
As a Balinese, I'm just like oh my God. Undescribable, my dear. This question and this statement is not easy to answer.
I know.
It's really not easy to answer. I would love today just to thank you, all of you. I was ready. I just told Michelle that in 1998, I was ready to make a meeting point. Like what you are doing today, I would like to meet people, to make a bridge to people, wherever they come from. I would like to bridge them, to make them how the value that they have from whatever they have, from whatever heart they made from. I mean, this is the way how I thank you to all of you. Without all of you coming to Bali, we won't recognize how our value. What is our value, really? I will not be, I can be proud to be a part of Balinese lady. I can be proud of that. So especially, my English maybe not that good, but maybe it's understand enough. Understandable enough.
We understand.
With my smile, maybe.
So
I tap my heart with a smile as well. So I will keep smiling.
So one last question for you, and then again, we don't script any of this. Is why we do it, right? Because you see, the reason why I did this, because I just saw you sitting there. We're talking about the uncopyability of human beings.
Yes.
We're in a place in the world which is one of the only living cultures left in the world, right? It's a place place where the Banjar system
Yes.
is one of the most oldest ancient systems in the world,
Yes.
and it's community led,
Yes.
right? The practices that you do every single day is all about human beings connecting with
Yes.
each other, right?
Yes.
During COVID, one of the reasons why Bali and Indonesia didn't suffer, they were suffering, but found a way through was because of the Banjar system,
Yes.
right? Which again, we're not going to go into now in great detail, but let's just say that human helps human, human connects with human. So just when I say living culture, so every day there's a ceremony in Bali. I have a friend who's a king in Tabanan, 220 offerings every day, every day in his puri, right? Every day. Then we have all of these different Balinese cosmology, calendar, saka, right? Which again, it's human centric, it's human first. So I think us having this conversation tonight is no coincidence you happen to show up, and I'm so glad that you did. And after, I would definitely, those who are feeling her energy and her grace, feel free to have a chat with her. But again, the last question which I'm going to ask you is that, so in Bali, it's something that I feel that maybe Balinese take for granted, and you've just said it, right? You said that by you coming over here, we realize and recognize what we have.
Yes.
So if I ask you, as best you can, what is it that you've seen that Bali has that is really important when it comes to this human nature in the world today? What would you say?
What I will say that Bali still till today, the balance. As I was married to, my husband is French, so I'm talking about my beloved husband. So he was very well integrated in Balinese culture. So he helped me to do what I'm doing today. So what we do in Bali, so since, oh my God.
Take time. Deep breath.
Okay. Thank you, Gecko. So, the balance of Bali, the balance of our Balinese culture. So, I really believe in especially what I'm doing, how I worship today, even with the simplest movement. That what we are doing, I think we all do coming from the similar roots. So we just don't, sometimes we forgot how to tap in actually. But what Bali is doing is just to keep the maintenance, I mean the balance of the three hitakarana actually. So we will always keep balance the earth, the medium, and the top. So means whatever we do, that's why Robert is saying 200, I don't know how many, actually it's more than 200 offerings actually. So this is not about offerings, this is about symbols, this is about gestures actually. So why we do that, it's a balance, it's a three hitakarana, being good to yourself, being good to the God and to the others. I think if we do that, if we recognize that to wherever we are, that's why Bali is very special. So it's, you're welcome. I think we all do very welcome in Bali. It depends how you take it. As soon as you feel very welcome, I think you're going to feel that energy. But if you don't feel welcome, you're going to feel like you keep complaining, hey, I'm in Canggu, it's stuck, blah, 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 blah. Everyone see it. So why you still here? So there must be something. I think for you too. There must be something here.
My sister. A round of applause, everybody. I put her on the spot. You've done beautifully.
Sorry. I'm very sorry, and thank you.
No. It's absolutely meant. Give me a hug, please, darling. Great to see you. All right, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Please.
Thank you very much.
Now, mind your step and take the microphone. I'm going to pass this microphone over here. Risen can hold it for a second. Thank you very much. So look, one of the reasons as well is that we're in Bali, a very special place. So, what is it with the work that you do that you feel is incredibly important while you're based here in Bali?
Thank you. I think like.
came up.
Yeah, something else came up, and but I think it actually it answers your question as well. So, Ibu Jeru, how she said like, wow, it's really hard for me as a Balinese to tell me how to tap into my heart, right? Is like, I think that's the quality of having interpersonal relationships when we're creating something in the world, right? It's like we have so many blind spots, and we can ask AI like, oh, here are all my life stories, now tell me all my blind spots, please don't glaze me, be brutally honest, like all this stuff, and then tap ourselves on the chest for like, oh, this is exactly who I am and what I'm gonna do in the world. No. It's like the juice happens in these moments, right? So sometimes we're not fully able to name it ourselves, and so we need another person, sometimes a village, to remind us who we are, what we're representing in the world, what value we give to others in the world as well. We can't always see that as well. So I think that's kind of taking a stand for the human edge. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. So look, we're going to begin to wrap up soon, but are there any other questions over on that side? Feel free to raise your hand. If not, just back over here. Yes. By the way, I knew you had more. I was just waiting for you to put your hand up.
Just because he said something that inspired me. What do you think then? What is the play of sovereignty in your work? Like, if you think that we are in that relational process of remembering who we are, where's the line of sovereignty, and where's the line, like, where does it cross to projection, or, you're human? What would you say?
Yeah, it's difficult. I think there's always going to be some form of projection, right? Because whatever my frame of reference is that's how I'm going to offer it. But then it's up to you to feel into like, well, is that really true? Well, actually, no. It needs a bit of change. So some of the work that both Pete and I did, or Jordan and I did, is like sometimes you sit down with. Let's take the example of writing, and let's take the example of like creating a piece of language on a website. I could say like, well, here's what I think should be the text, but so much beauty happens in, let's say, the extra 10% that we refine, and that's a ping pong show. Like, that's a ping pong match. That's like getting very granular, sometimes to the level of a word, and then you find that moment. Yes, that's me. So that kind of beats that field of like, well, is this sovereign or is this projection? Yeah.
One little thing to add.
Of course.
So, wouldn't it be the same then? Then it comes down to your own ability to discern of what is true, what is aligned with me, what is coherent with me when you use AI. Because that's what that's a sentiment that I get of people. Like, usually people who have a very fragile way to discern or not so much coherence in themselves are rather scared of AI. But for me, when I think about it, like, if you have a very high level of ability to discern, you have a coherence, you know who you are, and you have that level of metacognition, then I would say it's almost the same, right, with AI. It can give you something back, but you always have to like sit with it, tap into yourself, and discern, does it resonate? Yeah. Because the thing is, AI, it is in the end, collective consciousness. There's a lot of information that it can feed you, but it always comes down to the individual's ability to filter and process and then act on it. So what's the difference?
Well, how well are we able? We all think ourselves fully capable in discerning, right?
Are we? Yeah, I see.
Right, so that becomes a bit of a wobbly field, I feel. I think there's maybe not entirely. It's sort of an edge case. There's this. Maybe some of you have seen it. There's this beautiful clip from Rick Rubin, the producer, who speaks about, like, if you let 5 AI supercomputers and you give them the same script of a movie, if they do exactly how they are programmed and they come from the same data sets, the whole collective data sets, they would produce the exact same movie 5 times over. If you give that same script to 5 different directors, it'll be a completely different outcome. And so when we're working with identity, well, do you want to be like do you want to be the result of whatever prompt comes out of a prompt, or do you want to be the result of your agency and your choices in the world and the language that you use for yourself?
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Last one. Yeah, if you just pass the mic across. Yeah. Just check it's on.
Hi.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, I think this is about personal story as much as anything else. People have their own narratives of their lives. We do it all the time when we meet others. Like, you've only got a few minutes to introduce yourself or tell what your background is or whatever that is, and it's not necessarily authentic and correct, but it's not necessarily fiction either. We kind of create these identities of ourselves. It's just everybody does it, and so when you're using AI, you're actually maybe inadvertently giving that information, so it's spitting it back. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah. A friend put it to me like this. He said, the problem in our world, the challenge that we face, it's not about information. It's about, I'm paraphrasing, because with AI, okay, if I'm going, let's just say, let me find a good analogy. Okay, got one. If I am going in the wrong direction for whatever thing which I'm doing in my life, what AI will do is allow me to go faster in the wrong direction, right? Because I'm coming with a specific target, a specific goal, but it's the wrong goal. I don't know. So I'm going faster. So I think the key is what is the context that we're working from in order, and you mentioned it before, metacognition and so on, like what is the context that we're working from in a way like Google Maps? Let's go back to that, right? If I'm clear on my destination, and let's say, just for the sake of argument without getting into all the minutiae of it, that destination is aligned for me, then AI can help me to get there. Where I see the work that you do, which was brilliantly described by you, is oftentimes we're confused about where we're going, and maybe we think we know, but it's difficult. You mentioned about, well, I'll give it this one. It's difficult to see the picture when you're in the frame. So by having another human who is skilled at the art of listening, who is skilled at the art of teasing out the important points from your narrative, from your story, who you believe and trust is there 100% for you, right? Is supporting your journey, your process, and is able to have the skills for you to inherit, to find, to unravel, to discover that narrative which is soulfully or heartfully aligned with you, going in the direction where you want to get to, then that's probably a really powerful person to have on your team. That's kind of how I see the work that you do. And to answer your question, which I think I did, I think it's more about, there's so much information out there. The problem isn't information. The problem is what's relevant for me and where I'm going in my destination. Because if I'm going over here, I don't need to know about all this information over there. It's just going to confuse me even more.
Well, I think the other problem is what AI does with it, as you said. So you can give that information and it can spit it back and send you on the wrong track. And that's the problem with anything that's AI versus any human who's going to maybe challenge you, hopefully in a nice way, like Roel. Yeah, right? I mean, this is it. It is that human essence. So
thank you very much, brother. Appreciate. So we're going to get into one more quick one, Arjuna, or is it going to be a long one? Let's give it to Arjuna. This will be the last one. And then what's going to happen is that from here, thank you for passing it over, brother, is that we're going to have a photo, Roel and I. Then after that, we're going to jump into a group photo. And then after that, everyone's welcome to connect with the people that they resonated with for whichever reason and have a good chat, right? So last one from you, Arjuna. Thank you.
Yes, last one. So I'd just like to ask, so you obviously have a lot of experience in reaching people as part of your job, right? So let's say, for example, we have some friends who aren't really seeing the positive sides of life right now and are quite, down in the dumps and stuff. What, in your opinion, is the best way to reach them and show them that, life is worth living? Sorry, I don't mean to make this a really heavy ending to the event, but I think it is a very important thing as well that, so how can we reach them? Because we can always give them solutions. Oh yeah, you can do this, you can do that, but you can always bring the horse to the watering hole, but you can't make it drink, right? That's a common saying. So what do you think is the best way to reach them and to show them that, look, life is great, we can always improve and to move forward?
So just before he answers that one, so tonight's topic is about narrative, right? I don't think it's so much about coaching people out of their place or the challenge that they're going through. So what I would do, in fairness to our guest, is to slightly shift your question, but still get the answer. So let's do it like this. So if you have a client, right, who's coming to you and wants to discover their narrative and what it is that you do, but they're going through a hard time at this point in time, how would you approach that?
First of all, I'd approach them as a human being, like we go through, can we empathize with their situation? Can we try and see what life is like through their eyes? What is hard about this situation, and what does it tell them about themselves? What's the lens that they're using on the world, and can we show that picture, in a gentle, loving way? Can we show, like, okay, this is how you're viewing it. What's on the other side of that picture? It's like, how are you with a friend? How are you with a friend that's going through a rough time? Are you projecting all your solutions onto them in the hope, like, no, you go, or are you just taking a pause and going like, well, tell me first, let's tell me. I mean, the cup has to empty first before anything comes in, right? So I guess this is what I would do with a client that's going through a rough time or that's feeling the challenge of a particular narrative angle that we're trying to take, right? It's like, okay, well, talk me through that. Why does that not feel congruent, or what's struggling? Like, is it something that's old that's holding you back, or is it something that's just not in alignment? So like, okay, let's clear that out first, and then we look at our options. Yeah.
Thank you. So look, as we begin to wind up for this week, so one thing I want to, in about 2 minutes time, so you have about 2 minutes to think. Ooh. Maybe 2 minutes, maybe less, probably less. As a final closing question for you, is there anything, because tonight, again, what we've spoken about is this uncopyability that humans have, but you've also discussed how technology can also support in part of that process. And then through Ibu, Gerald, thank you so much, my dear, for just, and thank you, Michelle, appreciate you, brother, for allowing us to bring you in there unannounced, and, but I think it was very important because, again, what she was able to communicate is it's a very personal journey, which is what you were saying before, right? And this all for me tracks back into what makes us human and unique as human beings. So the last question for you then is there anything that you want to reiterate, or anything that's coming in that you said, what, I really want to leave people with this, right? So whatever that might look like, you'll have the time to do it. Feel free as well to let people know about Ethos, how they can connect with you if they want to go deeper, further, longer, right? How they can do that. So feel free to share those details as well. And then after that, we'll wrap photos, and then we can have discussion. You've got about a minute and a half, I reckon. So
all right, cool.
Have a think. Cool. Until then, just want to thank everybody. Round of applause, please, for Brother Guzman, Tropical Nomad in the house. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you. A round of applause for yourselves for showing up. 2 hours for showing up here. Tropical Nomad, thank you so much. Woo. tonight's show, has been. We did a whole series on AI for about. I think we did about 12 episodes. Experts from all over the world come in and talk about ethics and so much. And it's interesting because, as I mentioned, in the last month or so, having this deeper dive for me personally, I can see areas where it's a real help. And areas where it can become really quite confused. And so, I feel and I believe that this, and I would like to feel and believe actually, that human beings, there's always something there that we have in common that is unique, that creates a unique set of, circumstances, where you get fluttery, where you fall in love, where where intuition comes through, where you get a striking insight into something and it impacts you on a cellular level. I think these things, from my view, are things that also make us human. On the other hand, we can also be helped and supported by technology. So I just want to thank you, Roel, for coming in and showing us, giving us a little window into what that may look like and the work that you're doing now. And thank you again, brother, two of you, for clients which have got extremely powerful insights from the work that you've done when it comes to narrative architecture. And just thanks as well for being a good fella and giving me a call that day saying, hey Rob, I got this thing, is there a spot? And I'm like, oh yeah, there's a spot, because you've also contributed so much through Voices Unleashed, not only to Bali but to the world, right? So we're going to withhold the round of applause till the end, but thank you, brother.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for being part of the process.
Yes, love it. Yeah, appreciate you.
My brother.
Yeah, appreciate you. I'll start with the pitch, right, and then end on the high. Because I think, well, the pitch could be the high as well, but I think the pitch is, listen, I'm great at building narratives out of people's identity. I'm great at helping you reflect and surface the language that is meant for you. And the way I do that is either through a one-on-one engagement that could look whatever. I mean, 2 years ago I wrote a book for somebody, so it could look in whatever shape and form when it comes to language. And what I'm doing with Ethos is, 3 very simple things in 3 days. It's how to find your edge, how to find your uncopyable edge, how to build a signature offer around that language, and how to derive the golden nuggets from your own personal story that relate to how you do business in the world. All with the intent to create a positioning that is simply incomparable to anybody else in your field. Because what is one photographer from another? What is one coach from another? It's comes back to this narrative identity, right? So it's like the author, the artifact, and the audience. And so we work on those 3 things in 3 days. I have an early wave price right now going around until the 8th of January, which is gets a lot more support out of me if you're hopping on that one. So anyone listening, and especially as a solo founder, a creative, an artist, if you want to work on your positioning with a language that really feels like you, that's the thing.
How'd they reach you?
Right here. So humannature.art/ethos. That's one. And the other one is my Instagram, which is basically this name, Roel WT Cruys. And I think like the other thing that I want to leave with is because it came to me when you were basically making the gestures along your body, right? It's like it's the Greek mythology of Prometheus going against Zeus to give fire to the humans, and I think it's our mortality that sets us apart. It's the quality of being mortal. It's the quality of a finite life that allows us to create something that is, has this myriad of beauty and color that wouldn't come from a machine or wouldn't come from something that's infinite, because it doesn't carry the gravitas and it doesn't carry the meaning of creation in such a way.
That's powerful, brother.
Thank you.
Round of applause by Roel, WT Cruys. See you next week. Thank you.